What happens when a brave barista refuses to back down from a difficult customer? Chen thought she was just standing up to another entitled businessman at her coffee shop. She had no idea he was Alexander Cross, Billionaire, CEO of Cross Industries. But their explosive encounter was just the beginning of a deadly game that would change both their lives forever. Welcome back, dear friends and story lovers. Tonight, we bring you a tale where love is tested, secrets come to light, and fate takes an unexpected turn. Every moment will pull you in deeper, and every choice could change everything. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if this story touches your heart, like, subscribe. Share it with someone who believes in true love, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter. The steam wand hissed like a serpent as Chen fought to create the perfect microfoam, her hands trembling despite 2 years of muscle memory. The morning rush at Moonbeam Cafe pressed around her like a living thing, all urgent whispers and impatient sighs. The stranger in the charcoal suit watched her every movement with predatory intensity, his steel gray eyes cataloging each imperfection. "This is the third attempt," he said, his voice cutting through the ambient noise like a blade. "I'm beginning to question whether this establishment can deliver even basic competency." Heat flooded Lily's cheeks. Around them, the usual symphony of grinding beans and clinking cups had gone silent. Mrs. Patterson clutched her purse tighter. Rita's cheerful humming died mid-note. Even the morning regulars, usually buried in their phones and newspapers, had turned to watch the spectacle. "Sir, I understand your frustration," Lily said, her voice steady, despite the storm brewing in her chest. "But speaking to me like I'm incompetent won't make your coffee taste better." The man's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Excuse me, you heard?" "Me." Lily set down the milk pitcher with deliberate control. "I've made thousands of lattes. I know my craft. You want to teach me something? Teach me. If you want to humiliate me in front of my customers, you can take your business elsewhere." The cafe fell into absolute silence. Rita's eyes widened to saucers. Mrs. Patterson's weathered hand moved to her heart. The stranger stared at Lily. For a long moment, something flickering behind his cold facade. When he spoke again, his voice carried a different quality entirely. "You have no idea who you're speaking to." "I don't care if you're the Pope," Lily replied, her pulse hammering against her throat. "In here, you're just another customer who needs to learn some manners." His phone buzzed against the marble counter. The name on the screen made Lily's blood turn to ice water. Alexander Cross, Cross Industries. She knew that name. Everyone in the city knew that name. Billionaire, real estate mogul. The man who could buy and sell her entire neighborhood before lunch. Alexander Cross picked up his phone, never breaking eye contact with Lily. "Cancel my morning meetings," he said quietly into the device. "I'm going to be here for a while, Alexander." Cross settled into the corner booth like he owned it, which Lily realized with sinking dread he probably did. Cross Industries owned half the buildings in downtown, including the one that housed Moonbeam Cafe. Her defiance had just signed her termination papers in front of 30 witnesses. "Lily," Rita whispered, appearing at her elbow with the urgency of someone watching a train wreck. "Do you know what you just did?" "I stood up to a bully," Lily replied, though her voice carried less conviction than before. She busied herself cleaning the espresso machine, anything to avoid looking at the man who could destroy her life with a phone call. The morning crowd had thinned, but Cross remained, nursing the cappuccino he'd finally accepted after her fourth attempt. He'd been there for 2 hours now, making calls in a voice too low to overhear, his attention split between his laptop and periodic glances in her direction. At 11:30, the lunch prep rush began. Lily worked with mechanical precision, her mind racing through worst-case scenarios. Eviction, unemployment. Her business classes would have to wait another year. It's maybe forever. "Miss Chen." His voice made her jump. He stood at the counter again. His presence somehow more unsettling now that she knew exactly how much power he wielded. "Yes, Mr. Cross." The name tasted like ashes in her mouth. "I'd like to offer you a job." Lily's hand stilled on the espresso portafilter. "I'm sorry. You heard me correctly. I need someone with your particular skills in my organization." "My skills?" Lily laughed, the sound sharp with disbelief. Making coffee? I don't think Cross Industries has much use for baristas. Not making coffee. His eyes held something that might have been approval, or might have been something far more dangerous, standing up to powerful men who think they can intimidate anyone smaller than themselves. Behind him, Rita made a strangled noise. I don't understand, Lily said slowly. I think you do. Xander leaned forward, lowering his voice. I think you understand more than you let on. It's the way you handled yourself this morning. The way. You refused to back down even when you realized who I was. That's not typical barista behavior, Miss Chen. Lily's pulse quickened. There was something predatory in his tone, something that suggested he knew more about her than he should. Her past was buried deep, or so she'd thought. I need someone who can't be bought or intimidated, he continued. Someone who will tell me the truth even when it's dangerous. Especially when it's dangerous. What kind of job are we talking about? Executive assistant? Close protection detail when necessary? Discretion guaranteed? Compensation substantial? He slid a business card across the counter. Think of it as industrial espionage, but legal. Lily stared at the card. The number written in his hand at the bottom made her vision blur. More money than she'd make in 5 years at the cafe? And if I say no? Alexander's smile didn't reach his eyes then. You say no. I don't coerce employees, Miss Chen. I find it counterproductive. But there was something in his voice, something that made her wonder exactly what kind of danger she was walking into. And why, despite every instinct screaming at her to run, she found herself reaching for the card. I'll need to think about it, she said. Of course. He straightened his suit jacket. But don't think too long. I have a board meeting tomorrow morning that could use your particular brand of honesty. As he walked toward the door, he paused and turned back. Oh. And, Miss Chen, you might want to ask yourself why I was really here this morning, because I promise you it wasn't for the coffee. Lily's studio apartment felt smaller than usual as she paced between the kitchenette and the fold-out bed that served as her couch. Alexander Cross's business card lay on her coffee table like a loaded weapon, the salary figure circled in red, ink from her own pen. She'd checked the number 17 times. It wasn't a mistake. The money would change everything. It's no more 16-hour days split between the cafe and evening classes. It's no more choosing between textbooks and groceries. No more lying awake calculating whether she could afford both rent and electricity this month. But Alexander Cross didn't strike her as the type of man who gave away small fortunes out of kindness. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello, Mr. Chen. I hope I'm not disturbing your evening. His voice sent an involuntary shiver down her spine. I make it my business to know about people I'm considering hiring. Background checks are standard procedure. And what did your background check tell you? A pause. When he spoke again, his voice carried a different quality, something almost gentle. That Lily Chen is an alias. It's a very good one, professionally constructed, but still an alias. Your real name is Alina Vasquez. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. I don't know what you're talking about. You disappeared from Los Angeles 18 months ago after testifying against Vincent Morrison's money laundering operation. Witness protection relocated you here, but you kept working because sitting still makes you feel like a target. Lily's vision tunneled. Morrison's organization had tentacles everywhere. If Alexander Cross could find her this easily, are you threatening me, Mr. Cross? On the contrary, I'm offering you protection. Morrison's people have been getting closer. They know you're in this city. It's only a matter of time before they narrow down your location. How do you know that? Because I've been tracking their movements for months. Morrison owes me a considerable debt, and he's been using increasingly desperate measures to avoid payment, including silencing witnesses who could expose his financial irregularities. Lily sank onto her bed. What do you want from me? The same thing you want. Morrison behind bars, permanently this time. But to do that, I need someone on the inside who can't be traced back to law enforcement. Someone with your particular skills and motivation. What skills? Testified against him once. That doesn't make me qualified for whatever you're planning. Alina Vasquez was Vincent Morrison's accountant for 3 years before your crisis of conscience. You know his operations better than anyone alive. You know where the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. The line went quiet except for the sound of her own breathing. The job offer stands, Alexander continued. But now you know what it really entails. This isn't about making coffee or standing up to difficult board members. This is about bringing down one of the most dangerous crime organizations on the West Coast. And if something goes wrong, then we both disappear. Permanently. Lily closed her eyes. Outside her window, the city hummed with late-night traffic and distant sirens. Somewhere out there, Morrison's people were hunting for her. Near her small apartment, with its thin walls and cheap locks, she was defenseless. I need guarantees, she said finally.
Ow!
You'll have them. Full legal protection, new identity if necessary, and enough money to start over anywhere in the world. This is finished. And if you're lying, this is some elaborate setup. His laugh was low and humorless. Miss Chen, if I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. Don't need elaborate setups for that. The truth of it settled in her stomach like ice water. He was right. She was trapped between Morrison's revenge and Alexander's dangerous proposal. With no safe path forward, when do we start? She asked. Tomorrow morning, 9 sharp, and Miss Chen? Pack light, we'll be traveling. The line went dead, leaving Lily alone with the sound of her hammering heart and the growing certainty that she'd just made a deal with someone far more dangerous than Vincent Morrison could ever be. The Cross Industries private jet felt like a tomb at 30,000 feet. Lily pressed her face to the window, watching Los Angeles sprawl beneath them like a circuit board of broken dreams. 3 weeks of planning, false identities, and careful reconnaissance had led to this moment. Tonight, they would attend Vincent Morrison's charity gala. Tomorrow, Morrison would be in federal custody if everything went according to plan. Second thoughts. Alexander settled into the leather seat across from her, his tailored tuxedo making him look like a predator dressed for a wedding. Just wondering if I'll live to see sunrise, Lily replied, smoothing the silk of her evening gown. The dress was worth more than her old annual salary, and the wire sewn into its lining could send a man to prison for life. Over the past 3 weeks, she'd seen sides of Alexander Cross that the business world never glimpsed. The way he methodically planned every contingency. The controlled violence that simmered beneath his polished exterior. The strange moments of unexpected gentleness that made her wonder which version was real. You will, he said with quiet certainty. I won't let anything happen to you, because I'm useful to your plan, because you matter to me. The words hung in the recycled air between them. They'd been dancing around this attraction for weeks, the tension building with each shared hotel room, each moment of manufactured intimacy required by their cover story. Playing his fiancée had become dangerously easy. Alexander, don't. He looked away, his jaw tight. Don't say whatever you're going to say, not yet. The plane banked into its descent, and Lily felt her stomach drop for reasons that had nothing to do with altitude. The Morrison estate blazed with lights and crawled with security. Lily's earpiece crackled with updates from the FBI surveillance. Team positioned around the perimeter. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Too perfectly. Target acquired. She whispered as Vincent Morrison approached their table, his reptilian smile fixed in place. He was older than she remembered, his hair gone silver, but his eyes held the same cold calculation that had haunted her nightmares. Vincent Alexander rose smoothly, extending his hand. Thank you for the invitation, Alexander Cross. Morrison's grip lingered a beat too long. I was surprised to receive your RSVP. I wasn't aware we moved in the same circles. Business makes strange bedfellows, Alexander replied. Believe you know my fiancée, Elena. Morrison's gaze shifted to Lily, and she felt the familiar chill of being examined by a predator. I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Vincent Morrison, Lily said, proud that her voice remained steady. I've heard so much about your charitable work. Have you? Morrison's smile sharpened. And here I thought you might have heard about my other interests. But then, Alina Vasquez always was good at playing innocent. The blood froze in Lily's veins. Beside her, Alexander's posture shifted almost imperceptibly. Morrison's laugh was like breaking glass. Did you really think I wouldn't know, Lena Vasquez, my former accountant? The little idealist who tried to destroy my organization with her righteous testimony. His eyes moved to Alexander. And Alexander Cross, who's been buying up my debts for months, thinking he could squeeze me into bankruptcy. Vincent Alexander's voice carried a warning. Oh, but the best part, Morrison continued, his voice rising slightly, is that Alina doesn't know the real reason you recruited her. Shall I tell her, Alexander? Shall I tell her about your brother? The world tilted. What is he talking about? Tell her, Alexander. Tell her how Marcus Cross died in federal custody after testifying against my organization. Tell her how you've spent 2 years planning your revenge. Tell her how Alina Vasquez was never your partner in this noble crusade. Morrison leaned closer, his breath hot against her ear. Your bait, sweetheart. The worm on the hook. Alexander needed something to draw me out of hiding, and what better than the woman whose testimony destroyed half my operation? Lily turned to Alexander, searching his face for denial. Instead, she found confirmation in his hollow eyes. Lena, I can explain. You bastard. The words tore from her throat like broken glass. You lying bastard. Morrison's security was moving now, forming a loose circle around their table. Other guests began to notice the disturbance, conversations dying into uncomfortable silence. The FBI wire won't help you now, Morrison said conversationally. My people have been jamming the signal for the past hour. Oh, and that's surveillance. Team your boyfriend mentioned? Let's just say they encountered some unexpected obstacles. Alexander's hand moved toward his jacket, but Morrison tutted softly. I wouldn't. My men have rather itchy trigger fingers. Lily felt the walls closing in, betrayed by the man she'd foolishly begun to trust. Trapped by the monster she'd tried to escape. The wire in her dress suddenly felt like a noose. However, Morrison continued, I'm a reasonable man. Alina, you have a choice. Come work for me again, willingly this time, and Alexander lives. Refuse, and you can watch him die before I kill you anyway. Don't, Alexander said quietly. Don't give him what he wants. But Lily was already standing, her mind calculating angles and distances. Morrison had made one crucial mistake. He thought she was still the frightened accountant who'd fled loss. Angela's 18 months ago. He had no idea what Alexander Cross had taught her about survival. I have a counteroffer, Vincent, she said, her hand moving to the concealed knife Alexander had insisted she carry. Go to hell. The knife sliced through Morrison's wrist before his bodyguards could react. Blood sprayed across the white tablecloth as chaos erupted around them. Lily rolled behind an overturned table, Alexander moving with her in perfect synchronization. Their weeks of training together paying off in brutal efficiency. The west exit, Alexander shouted over the screaming guests. 30 seconds. But Lily knew they wouldn't make it. Morrison's men had them outnumbered and outgunned. The FBI surveillance team was compromised. They were alone in a house full of killers. Alexander. She caught his arm as bullets splintered the table above their heads. The real reason you recruited me? Tell me now. His eyes met hers, and in them she saw not the cold calculation she expected, but something raw and broken.
Oh.
Marcus was my twin brother.
Nice.
When Morrison's organization killed him in custody, they didn't just murder my brother. They destroyed the only family I had left. So you used me at first. Another volley of gunshots. Morrison was shouting orders, his voice sharp with pain and rage. But somewhere between the coffee shop and tonight, you became something I never expected to find again. What? A reason to survive this? The shooting stopped. Morrison's voice carried across the ballroom, amplified by the sudden silence. Alina Alexander, I know you can hear me. I'm prepared to be reasonable. Come out now, and I'll make it quick. Lily looked at Alexander, seeing her own desperate calculation reflected in his face. They had one chance, the backup plan he'd never told her about, because it required a sacrifice he'd hoped to avoid. The briefcase, she whispered. In the jet. All of Morrison's financial records, everything we need to destroy his organization permanently. The FBI will never get it if we die here. They will if one of us survives to deliver it. Understanding dawned in his eyes, followed immediately. By rejection? No. We find another way. There is no other way. Lily pulled the backup hard drive from her evening clutch, pressing it into his hands. Morrison's people are everywhere, but they want me more than they want you. If I surrender, create a distraction. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for my revenge. This isn't about revenge anymore. She cupped his face with her hands, memorizing the sharp angles of his cheekbones, the warmth of his skin. Morrison's organization has killed dozens of people. If we don't stop him tonight, he'll kill dozens more. Tears she'd never seen before gathered in Alexander's eyes. Elena. My real name is Lily, she said softly. Elena Vasquez was just another lie. But what I feel for you, that's real. The only real thing left. She kissed him before he could protest, tasting salt and desperation and the bitter edge of goodbye. When she pulled away, his hands shook as they released her. Me 60 seconds, she whispered. Then she stood up, hands raised, stepping into the killing field of Morrison's vengeance. Vincent? She called across the ruined ballroom. Let's finish this. Morrison emerged from behind his cover, his wounded arm bound with strips of silk. Tablecloth. His remaining bodyguards flanked him, weapons trained on her heart. Elena Vasquez. The woman who cost me $50 million in 3 years of my life? The woman who's about to cost you everything, she replied. Behind Morrison, she saw Alexander moving through the shadows, making his way toward the service corridor that led to the roof. 90 seconds, their extraction helicopter would arrive. If he could reach it, if he could deliver the evidence, Morrison's empire would crumble. Morrison raised his gun. Any last words? Yes, Lily said, and smiled. Should have checked the backup wire. Morrison's eyes widened as he realized what she meant. The original FBI surveillance might have been compromised, but the secondary transmission Alexander had rigged was broadcasting everything to a different frequency. Everything Morrison had said, every confession, every threat, was being recorded. By a team of federal agents 60 miles away, the shot echoed through the ballroom like thunder. Alexander found her in the hospital 3 days later, alive but forever changed. The bullet had missed her heart by inches, but the doctor said she would carry the scar for the rest of her life. Morrison, she asked, as he settled into the chair beside her bed, arrested. Its entire organization is being rolled up as we speak. The trial will be a formality. The backup transmission, perfect quality. Every word. He took her hand carefully, mindful of the 4 tubes. The FBI wants to offer you a position, consultant on organized crime cases. Good money, federal protection, chance to make a real difference. And what do you want? Alexander was quiet for a long time, watching the Los Angeles skyline through the hospital window. When he spoke, his voice carried a softness she'd never heard before. I want to take you back to Moonbeam Cafe. I want to watch you make terrible coffee and laugh when customers complain. I want to learn your real dreams, not the ones built on running from nightmares. Just coffee? Maybe we could start there? He lifted their joined hands, pressing his lips to her knuckles. Work our way up to impossible things. Like what? Like trust, like forgiveness, like love. That doesn't require anyone to die for. Outside the window, the city sprawled under an ocean of stars, full of second chances and new beginnings. Lily closed her eyes and felt, for the first time in 18 months, the possibility of peace. Alexander? Yes, next time you want to ask me out, just buy me dinner. Skip the international criminal conspiracy. Laugh was the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. The end.